All right, we're officially live. I'm streaming on the Discord, also streaming on YouTube, X, Twitch, and Kick. Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. Welcome to another earnings stream. Of course, SPY and Triple Q were off to the races today. S&P was up 0.58%. NASDAQ was up 1.19%. So NASDAQ was just more tech heavy. Was up a bit more than S&P. The Dow was basically flat. I'm showing 0% on the Dow. VIX, a little drop in the VIX, which is usually good for stocks. Volatility has come down a little bit. VIX was down almost 5% today. 10-year yield basically flat. The dollar index, DXY, that was up 0.28%. So it's a little recap on how the major indexes did, and VIX, 10-year yield, the dollar. But we got earnings, ticker symbol AZZ, which is AZZ Inc, if you will. And then ticker symbol RGP, which is Resources Connection. AZZ's trade closed the regular session at $105.89. They were up 0.77% today. And just to look at when they're reporting earnings and what the forecasts are. So they're going to report today, 4:15 p.m. Eastern, about 15 minutes before that earnings data drops. Forecast EPS $1.56, forecast revenue $429.4 million. And just a quick look at their annual chart here. Anchored VWAP just above 110 a share. They're trading right around 105 today. And so that's ticker symbol AZZ. So the other one, Resources Connection, which is ticker symbol RGP, they report at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. So we'll get them first. And then we'll get AZZ after that. Forecast EPS for RGP, negative 0.17. Forecast revenue, $118 million. They're trading right where their anchor VWAP is. So anchor VWAP right around $5 a share. They closed the regular session at $4.98. Sitting here in post market, so far there's been no trades on RGP yet. It's trading at low volume. 370,000 volume today. Average volume over 30 days, 310,000. So a little bit more than the average volume, but nonetheless still low volume. The implied move for AZZ is around 6%. So you got to figure they closed the regular session around 106. So looking at like a $6 move, $6 and some change. Could be a $6 move up or down. So if it lines up with the implied move and AZZ gets a positive reaction, you'll probably put it right around 110, maybe a little above there. And the move to the downside, if there's a negative reaction, pretty easy. It's going to be right around $100. So maybe that'll come and play as some support if there's a negative reaction. For RGP, implied move is 13%. So implied move for RGP is almost double as AZZ. But 13% implied move was getting priced in basically. So it's trading around $5, 13%. So it could be up or down 65 cents or so. We'll see. Sometimes we get overreactions and there's double the expected moves. Sometimes there's not much reaction at all and we only get half the expected move. But implied move, it's a good guide, especially, it's a good guide for setting up like multi-leg trades and stuff like that, especially if you're doing any type of condor trades, or you could do a long iron condor or short iron condor. Just depends, but the implied move's a good piece of data to have. Of course, the implied move's good if you're trying to trade a butterfly trade or something like that as well, because basically you're trying to catch the price of the underlying stock in the wings of the butterfly, right? similar to an iron condor, a short one. But RGP, okay, so the data should be up for them. Again, they reporting at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. AZZ, which is the bigger stock here, trading over $100, they report in about 10 minutes. So let's talk about RGP first. Going into the earnings, they had, let's see here, EPS was negative. Yeah, RGP, I have a feeling their financials and fundamentals probably aren't going to be too good. But they do pay a 5.66% dividend according to Webull. This is ticker symbol RGP. So for you dividend traders out there, maybe you could do like when their next ex-div date approaches, maybe you could do like a buy plus right strategy where basically buy some shares and then immediately sell covered calls against those shares. That could be so, that way you're collecting income on the covered call contracts. And then of course you'll get paid the dividend if you're owner of record on the ex-div date. Couple ways to skin that one. But free float 31 million. This is RGP. Let's look at the financials. Income statement first. Yeah, just as I expected. Resources connection, RGP. It's really bad. Negative net income. As far as really bad, I'm more looking at the year-over-year numbers. They're just getting hammered. So not really much growth. There's no growth there, put it that way. Past 4 quarters, back-to-back negative net income, and kind of getting worse if you look at it. And last time they had a profitable quarter was Q4 of last year, almost a year ago. Annual basis, yeah, I mean, it looks like at one point in time this company was doing okay. So if you look back to looking at the income statement, 2021 they pulled the profit, 2022 they pulled the profit, all the way through to last year they pulled the profit on an annual basis, and they're just getting crushed this year. Just right out of the blue, they're getting hammered. So, got to be careful with this one. It's obviously on the quarterly basis. There's really no signs of improvement if you're looking at the past 4 quarters. So be careful with this one if you're trading it. Let's look at the balance sheet. Debt to asset only 32%. That's actually pretty good debt to asset, but it has been trending up quarter over quarter for the past 5 quarters. So we don't want to see that trending up. That means they're adding more debt compared to assets. Cash and equivalents, as of May 31st, they're sitting at 86 million. Looks like that was an increase in their cash and equivalent position from the prior quarters. We go back to the candlesticks. Looks like we're getting a positive reaction. And remember that expected move I was talking about was right around 65 cents a share. It's basically where it's trading at right now. So it hit its implied move has been hit. It is getting a positive reaction. So looking like a little bit of relief for the bulls. Let's give it a second for the price to settle down, because it's still kind of jumping all over the place. Close the regular session at $4.95 a share. Snowflake, you cracking me up with your meme over there. I'm trying to prevent myself from actually saying it. That's why I keep saying AZZ. Okay. So RGP closed at 4.95. It was up 2% today, but just zoom out on the daily chart, you can see the stock's just been getting hammered. Look at that, just a straight drop, sheer sell-off since 2022. Since it's been 3 years, they've been stuck in this downtrend on the weekly chart. They just haven't been able to break out of that trend. You could probably draw a trend line on there or just slap on some EMAs. You can clearly see the price. These EMAs have been acting as resistance for the past 3 years. And we just looked at their fundamentals and some of their financials. and it's just the company's been getting worse and worse over time. That's, you know, to attribute to this downtrend on the weekly chart, but it looks like they're finally catching a break. Let's go back intraday. They're trading right where the implied move was at. Trading at $5.70 in after hours. They're up 15%, so they must have finally showed some improvement. We were just looking at the previous 4 or 5 quarters, and their net income has been getting worse quarter over quarter for at least the past 4 quarters. Finally, it looks like they're showing signs of life. Let me see what the EPS and revenue came in at. I'll get that info for everyone. We got about 5 more minutes before AZZ reports. Okay. All right, double beat. RGP. RGP has a double beat. Let me post this here. Revenue beat and EPS beat. Now, revenue was down 12% year over year, but nonetheless, they beat the forecast. Let me post this here. Yeah, Volstat. Hey, Knowles on YouTube. How you doing? Thanks for joining the stream and hanging out. Do these streams every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We just hang out. We look at some levels, look at some income statements, some balance sheets, get some good levels on the bigger time frames, where we think it probably will go. And then at the end of the stream, I like sharing some of the open trades that I currently have open. But Volstag in the house. RGB is up. RGP, excuse me, is up. It's getting a positive reaction. This is a 15-minute chart. Let me go 1 minute. There we go. Let me go back to TradingView just for a second. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of trading on low volume. So price action looks a little sloppy. But that's okay. It closed at 4.95, went all the way up to 5.90, almost $1 a share. And then kind of taking a little bit of a breather right now. We draw a fib on this, just to see where some of these levels are. Just gonna put it from here to here. Let me do this. Let's portion. Okay, so just some levels here to kind of keep your eye on. I like it's kind of taking a little bit of a breather here, right around 570 a share. Looks like there might have been some support, kind of lines up with my EMA as well, right around $5.55, 550 to 555. That'll probably be my S1 here for after hours price action. S2 probably lining up right with my 21 EMA in this fib level, right around 530. So support 1, 550, support 2, 530. Look at AZZ getting some volatility. They're not supposed to report till 4:15. It's only 4:13. Wonder if something got leaked there. Volstack says Delta Airlines happening tomorrow before market open. Yeah, we'll definitely take a look at that, bro. We'll take a look at that one for sure. Get these 2 earnings reactions out of the way. Let me post oh yeah, the EPS and revenue for RGP. Get that posted for everyone. Hopefully I'm gonna put it on the bottom of my screen. Let's see if it comes out okay. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. And again, the forecast for RGP. I feel like I keep saying RGB, but RGP. The forecast EPS was negative 0.17. They just reported positive 0.03. Huge EPS beat. Huge EPS beat. And they beat revenue. Revenue was forecast at 118 million. They reported 120 million. So double beat for RGP. Looks like AZZ's data is out. I mean, it's down 3.3% right now. Before we go over that, let me show everyone how to get to RGP's investor earnings web call. I'll get the link for everyone, whoever wants to attend that. We'll find out what time it is as well. Take a look. Okay, I'm going to go over to AZZ here in just a second. Here's RGP investor relations. Okay. Let me go to perspectives. Actually, let me go back a little bit. And oh, here it is right here. I was on the wrong link. Okay, there we go. This is the investor relations page for RGP. So anyone who wants to take a deeper dive into their earnings, you get all the data here. There's the link on the bottom of my screen. I'll leave it up there for a little bit so anyone can screenshot that. We got about 300 people tuning in. Welcome, everybody. Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. Back at it again. Accept these cookies here. All right, let's see when their web call is. I'm going to go to, maybe it's right on their homepage. Let me just scroll down a little bit. So here's the investor presentation if you wanted to see that. That's just pretty general on their homepage, in general about the stock. And let's see, scrolling down. Let's talk. Well, it doesn't look like they released the earnings on their website. I'll keep looking. We'll come back to this here in just a second, but I did get the info from another source. So let's see. Some info from Stock Titan. Let's look at the info from Stock Titan. And then we're gonna look at AZZ. Okay, so they beat revenue. They beat EPS. They did take us a loss, a net loss of 2.4 million, but that was an improvement from last year. Same time last year, they lost 5.7 million. So they did improve that. All right, which is good. I think investors are really liking that. And again, they declared their cash dividend of 0.07 per share. That probably has something to do with their little rally too. I mean, I know they pay a dividend. So maybe they're just reaffirming that. But first quarter results, this is some commentary from the CEO, Kate. Her name's Kate. First quarter results exceeded our outlook ranges on all fronts, and we continue to make progress to transform our business to be more integrated, diversified, and resilient. We are engaging with clients on more consulting opportunities, which have higher bill rates. And just to clarify for everyone, they're in professional and commercial services. So they're a global consulting firm. All right. So the company segments that include on-demand talent, consulting, Europe and Asia, outsourced services. And so they're a consulting company. And let's go back here just for a second. Gross margin improved to 39.5% compared to 36.5%. So their margin improved. That's good. Investors are liking that, folks. That's pretty good. I'm gonna move this out the way. We got their earnings results. We got their earnings reaction. Let me post their earnings results one more time there. And again, support level number one, I got around 550 a share. And then support level number two is going to be around 530 a share. But as far as bigger time frame goes, I mean, like I said, they've been trend on the weekly chart. It looks a lot uglier on the weekly chart, but on the daily chart, I mean, we're probably looking at resistance, right? I mean, if this positive move holds up, probably looking at resistance around 580. And then so that would be my R1. The previous resistance was in the 550s. That was from last month. They've already broken above that. So the next level of interest that I'd probably be looking at is going to be right around like 580, and it will be R1 or area of interest on the upside, and then 6.20. Keep it simple there. That's what I would be looking at. maybe potential, if you're long on it, maybe some levels you could consider taking profit. Not financial advice, just kind of what I would be looking at. Porterhouse on YouTube. Yo, yo, yo. What's up, brother? Oh, you're in the Discord as well. Everyone should be able to hear on the Discord. Let me know if you can't. No, Snowflake was talking to me earlier, so I'm assuming all y'all can hear. Snowflake's typing right now, so yep, good to go. Cool. Thank you for posting that YouTube link, Porterhouse, just in case. So yeah, we got some clean, easy levels in RGP. They're already at 574 a share. So again, they're coming up to that. It's like right around. I'd probably call it right around 580 a share. So keep your eye on that for resistance. Actually came all the way up to 5.98. Look at that. So next level up from there is going to be 6.20 if you're trying to trade this in after hours. All right, AZZ, because I think most people are here for AZZ. It's the better stock, even though they are getting a negative reaction. But just overall, it's obviously a better stock than RGP. AZZ is trading above $100, so there's a reason why they're trading around 100, right? All right, and I will not forget about the request from my friend Volstagg. I'll definitely take a look at Delta Airlines because they have earnings tomorrow before the market open. We'll take a peek at them. All right, AZZ had a double miss. That's why they're getting a negative reaction. Almost 325 people tuning in. What's up, y'all? Just hanging out after the regular session. Okay, let me post this. AZZ, they did have a double miss. They still pulled a solid profit of a positive net income of 89.3 million. Strong performance was driven by metal coatings growth and disciplined cost control, despite softer demand in pre-coat metals. So we're seeing some softer demand when it comes to pre-coat metals. That's obviously had something to do with why they couldn't meet the forecast, specifically EPS and revenue. So let me post this data here for AZZ. Get this on the bottom of my screen. Okay, here we go. Perfect. All right, so everyone should be able to see those results. Double miss. Let's just take a look real quick at a few things. So their trailing 12-month PE ratio is 12.29. Seems fair. EPS 8.62. Small dividend payment 0.76, 0.75% really. Free float 29 million. Financials, income statement. I mean, their income statement, just from a bird's eye view, doesn't look bad at all. They are a profitable company. Year over year numbers nice and green. Debt to asset only 43% and trending down. That's great. As of May 31st. A little concerning about their cash and equivalent position. It's only $3 million as of May 31st. That's quite low for a stock trading around $100. That's something to keep your eye on there. Not a big cash and equivalent position at all. Actually, like pretty small. Luckily, they have quite a bit of assets. 2.16 billion in assets compared to only 944 million in liabilities. So I suppose the debt to asset can kind of offset that cash and equivalent position a little bit. But for a stock trading around $100, only having 3 million in cash and equivalents is not really too good. But like I say, debt to asset looks pretty good. So maybe that offset a little bit. They do have 625 million in property, plant, and equipment. So that'd be like hard assets, things that they could, liquidate for cash if they needed to. So that probably helps a little bit. But anyways, they're getting a negative reaction. They had a double miss, red across the board. Not what investors want to see. And again, the implied move on this was around 6%. So it's like right around a $6 move. And it's basically at the implied move right now. So we were talking about that earlier. $100 level, I mean, nice solid even number, and let alone it's a good mental number. A lot of investors like that, nice even mental levels. $100 a share just rolls off the tongue, right? But on the bigger time frame, I mean, it's sitting at the expected move right now. So, if it can't hold $100, what's this thing going to do? I mean, another thing also that's interesting, this is the daily chart here. There was a little unresolved gap, basically down to like 101, I guess I would call it. It's where it's at right now. So this gap that formed from July 9th to July 10th, the overnight gap on the daily chart, it had been sitting there for what, about 3 months now? It's just a perfect example that everyone likes to look for gaps and, oh, it's going to gap fill. And, the thing to understand is sometimes these gaps don't get filled for months. I'd rather go for like a gap fill day trade on SPY or the triple Qs. Those usually fill pretty quickly. And then you can go the other direction. Usually it bounces or rejects at that level. But, this gap from 3 months ago, it officially is filled now. It's right above that $100 level we were talking about. So support level number 1 on AZZ is going to be $100. I mean, it's pretty clear to me. So I'll put it $1 below that gap there. I just like the $100, just a nice solid level, I think. And kind of lines up with where it was resistance back here in the high 90s. This was from February. Of course, this sell-off here from February to April, probably no fault of AZZ. That's when we had the market-wide correction, that 20% correction or whatever. But, levels kind of lining up here. So support level number 1 on AZZ is $100. Support level number 2, I'm just going to take this volume shelf here. So it's quite a bit of volume that came in, right around $95. It's going to be my S2. So 2 easy levels on the downside. Not really going to draw out any resistance levels because the stock's getting a negative reaction. So, I mean, to be honest with you, before I even look at bigger, resistance levels on the bigger time frame, this thing needs to get back to where it closed the regular session at. So it's right around 106 a share. Until this thing comes back up to 106, I'm not even going to waste my time trying to plot out resistance levels. Right now, we're just dealing with the selling. And look, it looks like it bounced right above $100 too. That's that level from the bigger time frame we were just looking at. So let's see if that ends up turning into support. There is a small buy side imbalance on the level 2 right now. We'll see what happens with that. But it looks like there are some buyers coming in every now and then on this. Kind of ugly doji looking candles though. So not really showing much buying strength at all, really. There's a little bit, but not enough for me to be like, oh, well, the bottom's in and this is going to retrace back up. Here's some levels to watch. I suppose we can put some retrace levels on this selling that just happened and just kind of see where we're at with everything. Let's do this. Yeah, that'd probably be fine right there. So I'd be looking at probably 101.50. I like 101.50 as resistance. Now this is just post-market, levels. So don't put a lot of weight on this. But like I say, I'm not going to pull up resistance on the bigger time frames unless this gets back to 106. But before then, 101.50. I'd like to see a break there, and then probably 103. It's right around like the 50%. If it can retrace 50% of this selling, maybe it's on to something. My confidence probably start going up that, okay, this thing is trying to retrace, and Now it has a better chance at getting back to 106, but you know, got a few levels to take out before then. 101.50 and 103. Those are resistance levels for post-market price action. So just to recap, AZZ, double miss. And they did note softer demand on pre-coat metals. Just so everyone knows, AZZ, they're in metals and mining, in case anyone didn't know that. All right, so we got the reactions. Let's figure out how to get to AZZ's earnings web call and find out what time that is going down. Okay, let's take a look. Here's AZZ Investor Relations page. I'll keep the price on the left over here. They even got a nice historical chart here on their. This is straight from AZZ's website. So if you want to take a deeper dive into their earnings results, I'll post this link for everyone, save you some time from going to find it. And I'll put that on the bottom of my screen. There we go. That link right there will take you to the investor relations page. Just scroll down a little bit and you see right here where they posted the press release, okay? Now, their earnings web call. It looks like they're not doing it until tomorrow, October 9th at 11 a.m. Eastern. All right, so that's when their earnings web call is. So they're not even doing their earnings web call today. Usually we'll get the earnings web call 30 minutes to an hour after they release the earnings data. But a little different on this one. Got to wait overnight. And 11 a.m. Eastern is when they're going to do their earnings web call with the upper management, the CEO, CFO, all that stuff. So I hope that was good information for everybody. I do think overall that AZZ is going to be just fine. Again, we looked at their financials and their fundamentals. The only concerning thing was the very, very low cash and equivalent position, but maybe that's offset with the difference of the assets compared to the liabilities. There's like a $1 billion difference there. So that's probably, you know, helping offset that a little bit. And they got $625 million in hard assets they could probably liquidate if they needed cash, but just something to keep your eye on, that low cash and equivalent. I'd like to see that beefed up a little bit more. But other than that, I think it's a decent company. They got 5 quarters back to back in positive net income on an annual basis, dating back to 2021. Their positive net income trending up beautifully. Year over year numbers are great. They're just kind of taking a little bit of a nick right now because they just had they missed EPS and revenue on this earnings report. I think it's probably just going to be a short-term pullback. They still pulled a solid net profit. And again, not sound like a broken record, but that low cash and equivalent position, it is, keep your eye on that. For being a $100 stock, you'd figured they'd have more than that. But again, offset by like $1 billion difference from assets to liabilities. So overall, I mean, I think it's a fine, it's an okay company. I don't think it's a bad company. Keep your eye on the $100 mental support. I think this little pullback will probably be short-lived because, again, overall, they still pulled a profit and they're still in good shape as a company, I think. We'll go over Delta Airlines for Volstagg. Let's take a look real quick. See what's going on with them because they report tomorrow morning. So let's see what's going on here. I'm not showing Delta reporting tomorrow morning. Maybe it's before the close, or I mean, let's find out here. I'll find out. Hold on. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, it says it is tomorrow. At least that's what Webull says. Okay, hold on one second. DAL. I wonder why Earnings Whispers doesn't have it on there. Here it is. All right. Thursday, October 9th, 6:30 a.m. So yes, we were right. Their forecast EPS $1.52, forecast revenue $15.9 billion. Obviously, a big revenue company. One of the better airlines out there, fundamentally and financially. But look at this. They're trading right by their anchored VWAP, probably around 67, 68 bucks. Let's see what their reactions were for their previous earnings. I can usually get the previous 4 earnings for get that data for free here. Here we go. This is a neat little website called TipRanks. There's a few pop-ups here and there, but I'm not even signed into it. This is all free data. Gives a nice breakdown of their previous earnings that they had on July 9th. Volstag, I'm going to post this link for you. You might find this information interesting. I'll put it on the bottom of my screen. This will give you a ton of free, basically free information. Number one, regarding the data that was released at their last earnings, which was July 9th. You can see the company guidance in here and everything, and highlights and lowlights. You can see the negative things, and it just gives it paints a nice picture for the earnings. But if you scroll down, we can see basically the last 10 earnings, right? And you can see, how well they do beating EPS. It looks like they do a pretty good job beating the EPS. 2 little red blips here from October of last year and July of last year. But outside of that, they usually beat EPS pretty good. So that looks pretty solid. And the piece of information I like to look for, just to kind of let me know, like, what kind of reaction does this normally have to earnings? And again, you just got to X out of these pop-ups. We're not, this is free data, so I'm not too mad about the pop-ups. But the last time they reported earnings, one day after they reported, so on July 10th, they were up double digits the next day. They were up 12%. That's a pretty good positive reaction. April 9th's earnings, they were up 23%. And the time before that, they were up 9%. And then 4 earnings ago, they were down 1%, basically flat. They're coming off of 3 back-to-back positive reactions. It might give you maybe a little pattern there, right? As long as they didn't put out guidance, for the last earnings on July 9th, as long as their guidance didn't cause analysts to increase their forecasts for tomorrow morning's earnings data, sometimes when that happens, then it makes it a little bit harder for them to beat the forecasts on subsequent earnings when they raise guidance maybe a little too much than they should have. And sometimes, Wall Street will put the forecasts up a little higher than they should be, and sometimes it's a little harder for them to hit forecasts if they've raised guidance in the last earnings. So, we're just gonna have to see tomorrow morning, but pretty good data that we can just get for free here and just kind of get an idea of what's going on here, kind of paint a little picture. But I personally think, let's go to trading view. Let's just maybe look at some levels. So looking at the daily chart, they have been downtrending for about a month, maybe. This is probably like one month of price action here. And actually, I want to see the volume profile on the daily chart. There we go. So yeah, obvious support here in the mid 55s. This is price action for the last 4 months of price action, since it's kind of been, it has been making higher lows and higher highs, kind of sloppy uptrend, but it does, meet the uptrend guidelines of higher lows and higher highs. So just kind of ugly pullbacks. But you can see this volume shelf sticking out here right around the mid 50s. That's probably going to be my S1 on that. It's trading just above that, but you got to think, if that price fails, there just wasn't a lot of volume that came in below 55. I'd say from 50 to 55 is kind of a little gray area for me, which means, not a lot of volume came in at those price levels. So you got to think, if 55 fails, it's probably going to be like a magnet right down to 50, because a big volume gap here. So S1 55, S2 50. Keep it simple. You don't got to be to the penny with your levels, because it's never really going to hit to the penny, is it? Right? It cracks me up. Some people are online like, my support level is 55.17, and it's like, it's not really going to hit that to the penny. So I think it's better. I've been trading for a long time, but I just think your support and resistance levels should be more of like an area. All right. So for Delta Airline, mid 50s, it could be 55 to 56, somewhere around there. But if that level fails, probably be a magnet down to 50. That's what I think anyway. So and I'm not trying to discourage the bulls here by calling out support levels right now, but if there was a negative reaction to Delta Airlines, I'd be looking at 55 and then 50 and just keep it nice and clean. If it gets a positive reaction, pretty clear resistance here. I'm going to call that 63 bucks. Okay. Almost hit 64. This is quite the upper wick. So I'm just going to probably call that $63 resistance there. So, but if it can get over 63, I mean, I think this thing could be headed to $70 with the positive reaction. That's really what I think. I'm going to plot these levels out actually. So, again, support level number 1, right around 55 bucks. Support level number 2, and you can see here, look, it's probably going to be right around 50, right there for support level number 2. Resistance level number 1, it's $63. And resistance level number 2, I'm going to put that right at 70 bucks. Nice, clean, easy levels to remember. No fuss, no muss. So just some levels to keep in mind, whether they get a negative reaction or if they get a positive reaction. And we just don't know, because they could beat EPS, they could beat revenue. But if they mess with their guidance in a negative way, then that stuff goes out the window. No one cares about the EPS revenue. If they decrease the guidance, that's what's going to cause a negative reaction. And the same's with the inverse. They could miss EPS and miss revenue. And if they increase the guidance in a positive way, it'll rally. So, we're kind of at the mercy of their guidance, and that's just something we don't have that data yet. So it's kind of a guess what it's going to do. If you currently were long on Delta and you're wondering, how do I protect my downside in case there's a negative reaction? Well, that would be very easy. Assuming your cost basis is above $57, you could literally just use Friday's expiration, because the catalyst is going to be the move. You'll get the move there, and at least you'll be protected till Friday. But you could sell like this $58 covered call, assuming you have 100 shares of the stock. That pays like $160. And then the credit you receive from that covered call, you can use to buy a naked put option to totally cap your downside. I'd probably go after this 56 naked put, and that would only cost like 140 bucks. So you'd still have $20 credit left over on the covered call after you've already financed the $56 put. And that would cap your downside on Delta through intrinsic value, through the strike price alone. You won't, if Delta sells off to 50 bucks and you got that naked put in place that was paid for by the credit you collected on the covered call, you won't participate in any of the downside below 56. So that's a good way to hedge yourself through these earnings if you're currently holding shares. And it's a great thing to do. It's basically a collar trade. That's what it is. It's a collar trade. But it's even more so a great thing to do a collar if you have existing profits on the table, because then that's a situation where I have a bunch of shares of Delta. Maybe I've had these shares for a long time. How do I protect my gains from this earnings catalyst? It's very simple. Sell to open a covered call. Use that premium to finance or to pay for, not finance because you'd have to pay that back, but use the credit on the covered call to pay for a naked put, and there's your downside protection, and it didn't even cost you anything, and it locks in all the gains that you currently have. You know, might be off by $1 or $2 there, but it's fine. It's the majority of your gains will be locked in, and you won't participate in any downside below $56 or you know, whatever strike you pick. And it's also a way to get you know, maybe the premium you collect on the covered call doesn't cover the whole cost of the naked put. Maybe you want to cap your downside at $57 and keep it nice and tight. Well, you get about $160 for this covered call in credit. You could use that to pay for this $57 put, which would be your hedge. And the last sell on that was $185. So basically you'd covered the majority of the cost for it. You'd have to come out of pocket $15. But it's still a beautiful thing because you just reduced the cost of your hedge from $185. Now you only need $15 to put that hedge in place. So now this strategy, it does cap your upside because you got the covered call open. There's a little bit of upside there. So say Delta was trading right where it's at right now before the earnings, right around $57. There's some profit built into the covered call with just where the stock's trading at before the earnings catalyst. And if it does get a positive reaction, you'll be profitable up to the 58 strike. All right, so there is profit built into there outside of the premium you collect when you write that contract. But anyways, yeah, you know, just want to give everyone an idea of some of the creative things I do in the Discord. And I love doing this. I love showing people how to do stuff like this because, you know, especially the newer traders, they're not aware that there's so many different ways to trade. You know, they think, oh, you know, I'll buy a call, I want the stock to go up. I'll buy a put, I want the stock to go down. You know, there's a lot of creative ways to trade outside of that. And that's what I specialize in. I'm more of an advanced options trading coach. I got over 90 people in my coaching group right now, just so everyone knows. And there's a link, looks like it's scrolling on the bottom of my screen. That's the link that takes you to my my coaching group sign up. And it's only $39 a month. Also, if you go to my X account, been trying to grow my social media presence, if you will, because I just think more people need to know about these creative ways to trade. But anyways, here's what my X account looks like. I'll copy and paste my handle here. But if you go follow me on X and send me a DM, I'll give you a 20% off code to my coaching. But like I say, I got like over 90 people, almost 100 people in my coaching group right now, and everybody is making money with me. Okay, I don't think there's not one person that's not making money, and I'm always available for questions, comments, or just to bounce trade ideas off of. And also, I always have 4 to 6 trades going at one time. That's kind of like my little pipeline. And there's always something, there's always action going on. And as I'm closing trades out for profit, I'm replacing them with new trades, but I always have a pipeline of 4 to 6 trades going. So there's always some content going on there. And I alert my trades in real time. I let everyone know if there's any management that needs to be done, if we got to play a little defense here and there. Lots of creative things to do on that front. And then, of course, I let everyone know when I'm taking profit. And then most of my trades are sell to open. I run a ton of the wheel strategy. I specialize in writing contracts and collecting credit. I do trade debit spreads. I usually like to do that when VIX is real low. So when VIX is like 14, 15, I like to do debit spreads because I know when volatility increases, you can make profit on debit spreads just when the vol goes up. you know, that's usually the only time I do debit trades when volatility is real low, because I know when volatility goes back up, those contracts are going to appreciate and we'll have profit there just on vol increasing. But outside of that, I just love writing contracts and collecting credit. I do a lot of spreads too. But yeah, if you're looking for a new trading group, I'm the Swinging Bull with PB alerts. There should be some links in the description. You can even join the Discord for free if you want. Just see how you like the free section and then go from there. But yeah, that's really all I got for today. I hope everyone enjoyed. I had fun. Showed everyone quite a few things. And other than that, I hope everyone has a fantastic night. I will be back tomorrow for another earnings stream. Tomorrow it should be a little more exciting. Just go back to Earnings Whispers here and show everyone what's going on tomorrow. We do have applied digital reporting tomorrow. That's going to be a fun one. And then we have Levi. Everyone knows Levi. They're reporting tomorrow as well. They're expected 1.5 billion in revenue, 0.31 EPS forecast. So we'll see. But those are the two I'm going to cover tomorrow. So tomorrow will probably be a lot funner, a little more action. But yeah, other than that, hope everyone enjoyed. I hope everyone has a fantastic night. And until next time, I'll see everyone in the very next stream. Cheers.